Welcome to Around the Track, the most exciting 15 minutes in wealth management by Dynasty Financial Partners and hosted by CEO Shirl Penney.
Hello, welcome to another edition of Around the Track, the most exciting 15 minutes in wealth management. I'm your host, Shirl Penney, founder and CEO of Dynasty Financial Partners. I'm really excited about today's episode of Around the Track because I'm joined by a longtime friend and client, Matt Celenza, who in 2017 founded Boulevard Family Wealth as well as Boulevard Insurance Services. Matt, thanks so much for sitting down and having this conversation.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
All right, we talked about this at dinner last night. There's only one rule on Around the Track. That is, we're going to try to make our way around the virtual track together in less than 15 minutes. We'll see if we're able to do it.
Let's go.
You ready to jump in?
I'm ready.
All right, first question. We're going to get you out of the gate strong here. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you started the two businesses that I just mentioned.
Well, as you know, I've been in this business now more than 25 years. I came from a typical industry path, working for Morgan Stanley and then Smith Marney, where I met you, and hence Citigroup.
I remember that.
Yeah, finished my career in that world at Merrill Lynch's private bank before I went independent. I just knew it was time. I had less control over the outcome of my business and the branding than I would like, and this is what my path was supposed to be.
All right, look, when you start a new business, right, any launching of a new RIA is challenging. But shortly after launching the RIA, you decided to launch Boulevard Insurance Services. Why did you feel so passionately about launching those businesses essentially together?
Right. So, yes, there's a lot of challenges in starting your own business. Working with Dynasty helped overcome a great number of those. And as you know, I always used insurance as a resource for my clients. Planning, estate and trust, and tax were a big part of our business with the family office profile of a client that we had. So insurance was a pure play on complementing that business. When I went independent, it was much harder to find a resource that fit perfectly for what I was trying to do. So the only obvious choice was to build my own. And that was a pretty heavy endeavor. But here we are 5 years later, and I think that I've built a perfect platform that works for not only my clients, but for others as well.
Yeah, one of the things that I know we've talked about a number of times over the years is how passionate you are in terms of how you service your clients and how strongly you feel about the fiduciary model.
Right.
And that was a big part of why, obviously, you started an RIA. Talk a little bit about some of the advantages of being able to integrate advanced planning and insurance planning for your clients on the independent side of the industry.
Well, it's evolving more and more every day. Part of it has to do with the intelligence and the various partnerships that we're allowed to work within to accomplish what clients really need. But the complexity of the client themselves is changing. And so in order to be best prepared and in order to call yourself a multifamily office, you have to have the right resources. And insurance is just one in particular that we have mastered. There's others that we offer through independent third-party partnerships to accomplish. If it's retirement or if there's a lending opportunity, we tend to collaborate. And that's one big advantage of the independent space. There's a lot of professional collaboration, and it works really well.
All right, so you just mentioned collaboration and partnerships, so let me just ask a follow-on question there, because I know one of the things that you really enjoy doing is partnering with other RIAs that want to bring in your planning and insurance expertise. How does that work, and why do you think you're seeing such acceleration with those types of partnerships with Boulevard Insurance Services?
So when I started this business, especially over COVID when I had a lot of extra time stuck in the office, I had spent countless hours and hundreds of conversations having this very discussion with other contemporaries, CEOs and operators of RIAs. Everyone understood that there was a need for insurance, but it wasn't a widely accepted practice for most RIAs. And that, I think, held true in the institutional world as well from the past. That has been changing, and I think mostly because there's a certain comfort that clients have with their RIA that they never had with an advisor at a firm. And with that comfort comes a lot more requests for financial services. And we treat insurance is an active asset class, a very necessary tool in planning for legacy, for liquidity, for philanthropy, and for other reasons. And so they're almost being forced to adopt some sort of an insurance practice. And we just become a good fit for that.
Yeah, and I spend, as you know, a lot of time with advisors within the Dynasty Network, oftentimes meeting with their clients or meeting with their prospects. And I agree with what you're saying in terms of the end consumer now wanting to get advice separate from where products are manufactured and sold, right? And that's a big part of why, the RIA space is continuing to grow, both for clients as well as advisors. Let me go even a bit further on what you were just saying. And it sounds like what you're saying is more and more of your peers are now starting to focus on planning, incorporating advanced insurance strategies into planning, but just reflecting, on yourself as an advisor, knowing so many other advisors. Why do you feel, whether it's independent or not, why do you feel like more of your peers, financial advisors, are not engaging in more conversation around risk mitigation, insurance planning, et cetera?
Well, I think that there's a natural stigma to talking about anything that has to do with anything other than managing money. Because most people were brought up in the world that gathering assets and charging a fee for them was their business. I learned a long time ago that offering more, understanding more about a client, understanding their family dynamic, understanding their needs of future legacy were as important, if not more so, than just managing assets. So I think that now people are starting to engage more in that world because if not, the competitive platform or the competitive environment, I should say, will cause them to lose clients.
Got it. All right. So it's been 7 years, give or take, since you've launched the businesses. Oftentimes, a lot of advisors that we speak to are thinking about launching another business or a related business. Some do and some don't. Obviously, you're running now both of these businesses side by side. What are some lessons learned, like reflecting over the last number of years? First of all, I assume that you are glad that you did it, but just looking back, what have been some of the challenges or lessons learned, or what would you say to any of your peers that might be thinking about building and operating a couple different businesses alongside of each other?
Yeah, you have to be able to calculate what the consumer or what the client is going to need. And we took a fair amount of time considering insurance being a big part of the independent space.
Right.
And I guess that we were right. The numbers don't lie. Most recently, and I've talked about this at the investment forum in Nashville, McKinsey put out a study. There's about $200 billion of just life insurance premiums paid per year. About 20 billion of that is from new policies. The rest is from reoccurring premiums being paid. Now, the interesting part to that study is that 54% was done away from insurance companies and agents. And so the 54% consisted mainly of digital for smaller deals, trust companies, which are now getting back into the world of this relationship versus transactional. And the rest of it, which was roughly 25%, was done in RIAs. So it's now becoming more common than it was when I first started the business. We just made a bet that it was going to happen, maybe not this soon, but we kind of understood that it was a natural occurrence.
I love that. Love the data there as well. All right, so we're coming off the turn. You doing okay? You tired? You're
No,
all right?
I feel great.
All right.
Do another lap.
All right, so we're going to sprint towards the finish line. One of the many things that I enjoy, Matt, when we get together is I know you're a student of the industry, and we like to talk about not where we are, but where we're going, right?
Yep.
And if you look out, pick a time frame, the next 5 years, what are some things that you're excited about? Do you believe, as certainly I do, that the independent space, the RIA space, is going to continue to grow, both in terms of new clients, new advisors? I mean, where do you see wealth management going over the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, I think that we're already on track to be the dominant player in the industry as the independent. What I do see happening, though, is that the makeup of the typical RIA is going to change. It's going to be more robust in its offering. And one of the reasons why we chose to build an insurance company that we call RAA-centric is we understood that it had to not be looked at as a transaction, but as a solve. And everything that people do within this RAA space to their clients has to be done along those same lines. And so I think personally that RAAs are going to adopt more principles and more resources. And if they don't build them on their own, which is not easy to do, they'll be partnering. And so we will see a lot of this collaborative effect. And clients do appreciate that. When you reach outside of your own environment to help them, that's a big win for you.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, sometimes we make the mistake of thinking that we have to build it all internally, right? And not focusing on synthetic scale, right? And what can be achieved when you partner with like-minded, client-focused professionals. So thanks for that. All right, last question. It's the same question I ask every guest on Around the Track. It's our wrap-up question, which is really, talking about what is your big triple crown, right? So in horse racing, the Triple Crown, as you know, is winning Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, the Belmont. It's very rare, rarely happens, but you wake up every morning, whether you're an owner, a trainer, or jockey, and you're trying to grab that brass ring that feels almost out of reach, but you're passionate about it and you go for it. So what is your big goal that sits out there that has you motivated, that you're going for? What would be Matt Celenza's Triple Crown?
Well, I can tell you that every day I think about where I want this business to go. And I do believe that changing the narrative of the way insurance is looked at was a big, big part of why I did this. I did not like the narrative around the transactional business that it was and how it wasn't transparent and how people avoided it almost, even though it was a necessary tool. So I think that we've done a good job already, and we're going to continue to do that, where we can completely change the narrative of how it's looked at in a more serious light. Secondly, I want to expand my partnership basis. I would think in the next 3 years, I would like to see at least 300 partners that are deserving of our hard work, our planning focus, and be considered a trusted third party. And I think it's obvious for folks like us at our age and how many years we've been in the business, it'd be nice to retire at some point and leave something behind that's fully operational, that can be a legacy.
Look, having known you and worked with you now over 20 years, I'm not surprised to hear you throw out some big, bold goals there. Matt, I've really enjoyed this. Thanks
Yeah,
for
a lot of
sitting
fun.
down and having this conversation with us today. I appreciate
Appreciate
it.
the time, as always. Yeah.
And thank you as well for joining us for another edition of Around the Track.